Story time, children. News flash. What if I told you you're really not gay? What if I told you you're in your own way? What if I told you, what would you say? What if I told you you don't need to cut off all that defines you? What if I told you you're just DNA sick? What if I told you you've all been tricked? What if I told you you're really not a hoe? What if I told you you've been put under a spell? What if I told you, would you still choose hell? What if I told you you weren't really gay? Or you don't really like oral sex? Or that you don't really like anal sex? Or that you didn't really like porn, S&M, jerking off all day, or housing your dildo on the nightstand till the battery's dead? What if I told you that you were invoking sexual rituals that were not yours? But that you, beloved, were acting out from generational patterns of dysfunctional behavior. Let me repeat so that you're following. Generational patterns of dysfunctional behavior. Generational patterns of dysfunctional behavior. For example, that involuntary ancestor, that buck-fucking rapist with a devastated sacral, sucked melanin and amber wood in the dark behind closed doors, under the full moon, and went after your great-grandmother in the light of day to cover up his disgusting barbaric offenses against defenseless men and boys. But let's take it back a little bit. Because he didn't just decide one day, I'm going to be this monster, this pedophile, this sexual deviant, this volunteer for our modern Megan's Day list. No. He inherited his base carnal desires through incest, sexual trauma, animalistic sexual violence, and left it for you in his inheritance. You running around waving that flag of sexual deviancy with pride, pun intended. What they say you stewed in is what your mama stewed in. In this case, the sexually deviant behaviors of sodomy, fellatio, pedophilia, and rape your ancestors perpetrated in those tombs with stolen children and kidnapped slaves have been embedded in your genetic fabric by the same serpent that swayed Adam and Eve. So now, I know I'm blowing your mind. You thinking, how the F-U-C-K, she gonna tell me I don't like the S-U-C-K, a big one. I'm telling you that sex reflects a culture. What you think you prefer was predetermined when your ancestors' toxic semen spilled on your entire lineage. Your ancestors' toxic semen spilled on your entire lineage. Your ancestors' toxic semen spilled on your entire lineage. Did you know that pregnancy is holistic? And the unborn child's spirit electromagnetic field is connected to the father. An emotional umbilical cord. The man fathering the child, as well as the birth father, can make mental and spiritual impressions upon the unborn child. So imagine the effect of toxic semen on generations. Toxic semen from a deviant. You still not convinced? You're probably saying, but I was abused. Well, pick up your feelings. Do the healing work. Everybody that gets abused doesn't become gay. You don't have to allow what happens to you to identify you. We can talk about all the reasons why, from abuse to misuse to reuse. Did it ever occur to you that it happened to you because you have the strength to survive this devastation, to walk in your divine purpose despite the obstacles? I'm telling you, do some healing, healing, healing. Shadow work. Shadow. Shadow. Mirror work. Mirror. Mirror. Inner child work. Inner child work. Inner child. And then decide if you want to wear women's clothes, dress like a man, or get a sex change. I'm not here to tell you who to love or who to have sex with. I'm just advising you to make an informed decision about your energy and your energetic exchanges. Don't just go by what you feel. Ask yourself, who are you really? Are you sheep or manifestations of the Most High? If you believe the latter, you will honor your temple and value yourself. Share that love with your divine partner. Without God and spirituality involved in sex, sex becomes nothing more than a feel-good behavior. Lust and sex and acrobatic eroticism. Now that I've told you how it all started, now that I told you the reason for your confusion, now that I told you, will you still engage in this illusion? Now that I told you, would you think twice? Now that I told you, would you heed to my advice? Maybe if I told you it's a diabolical plan to defile earthly vessels and collect souls for the afterlife, then you would stop and think. Now that I've told you how it all started, now that I've told you the reason for your confusion, now that I've told you, will you still engage in this illusion? Women, men, and children, be conscious of God's presence in you, around you. If God created man and we are his offspring, are we not God's? Act accordingly. Shout out to Lauren Hill, Dr. Leila Africa, and the collective. Love and light.